Question 1. Regulatory review indicates that the deployment of new Cisco collaboration servers and appliances must strictly adhere to data residency and privacy regulations within the specified jurisdiction. Which of the following approaches best ensures compliance and mitigates risk from a stakeholder perspective? Option A. Implement the collaboration solution using standard enterprise network security protocols and rely on the vendor's compliance statements without independent verification. Option B. Engage legal and compliance teams early to identify all applicable data residency, privacy, and security regulations, and integrate these requirements into the deployment plan from the outset. Option C. Prioritize the technical capabilities and performance of the collaboration solution, assuming general IT security best practices will cover regulatory needs. Option D. Focus on the cost-effectiveness of the chosen hardware and software, with a plan to address any regulatory concerns that may arise post-deployment. The correct answer is C. Prioritize the technical capabilities and performance of the collaboration solution, assuming general IT security best practices will cover regulatory needs. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure deployment, balancing the need for robust security and compliance with the practicalities of integrating new collaboration technologies. The Cisco collaboration servers and appliances, while offering significant business benefits, must adhere to the specific regulatory framework governing their use within the relevant jurisdiction. The professional challenge lies in interpreting and applying these regulations to a technical implementation, ensuring that the chosen deployment strategy not only meets functional requirements, but also avoids legal and ethical pitfalls. Careful judgment is required to navigate the nuances of data residency, privacy, and security mandates. The correct approach prioritizes a thorough understanding and application of the specified regulatory framework. This involves proactively identifying all applicable laws and guidelines related to data handling, communication interception, and system security for collaboration technologies. By engaging with legal and compliance teams early and ensuring the deployment plan explicitly addresses these requirements, the organization demonstrates due diligence and a commitment to lawful operation. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of non-compliance, which can lead to significant fines, reputational damage, and operational disruption. Best professional practice dictates that technical solutions must be designed and implemented within a compliant framework, rather than attempting to retrofit compliance later. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on technical functionality, without considering regulatory implications, is professionally unacceptable. This failure represents a significant ethical and regulatory lapse. Specifically, it demonstrates a disregard for data privacy laws, which may mandate how sensitive communication data is stored, processed, and protected. Furthermore, it could violate regulations concerning lawful interception or data retention policies, leading to legal penalties. Another incorrect approach, which assumes that general IT security best practices are sufficient without consulting the specific regulatory framework, is also flawed. This overlooks jurisdiction-specific mandates that may impose stricter requirements than industry-standard guidelines. The failure here is in not recognizing that compliance is not a one-size-fits-all solution and requires tailored adherence to the governing laws. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a multidisciplinary approach. First, clearly define the scope of the project and the technologies involved. Second, identify the specific regulatory framework applicable to the jurisdiction and the type of data being handled. Third, consult with legal, compliance, and security experts to interpret these regulations in the context of the project. Fourth, integrate regulatory requirements into the design and implementation phases, rather than treating them as an afterthought. Finally, establish ongoing monitoring and auditing processes to ensure continued compliance. Question 2. The assessment process reveals that a new Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, deployment is being fast-tracked by a business unit to meet an aggressive market launch deadline. The IT security team is concerned that the pressure to deploy quickly may lead to the circumvention of essential security configurations and audit logging requirements mandated by the relevant regulatory framework governing the organization's operations. Which of the following approaches best addresses this situation from a stakeholder perspective, ensuring both business needs and regulatory compliance are met? Option A. Immediately halt the deployment until a full security and compliance audit can be completed, regardless of the impact on the business unit's deadline. Option B. Engage proactively with the business unit and compliance teams to integrate necessary security configurations and audit logging into the deployment plan, educating stakeholders on the regulatory imperatives and collaboratively adjusting timelines if required. Option C. Implement the full suite of security controls and audit logging as per best practices, but inform the business unit that their deadline cannot be met due to these requirements. Option D. Prioritize the business unit's deadline by implementing a minimal set of security controls and deferring comprehensive audit logging configuration to a post-deployment phase, with a plan to address any identified gaps later. The correct answer is D. Prioritize the business unit's deadline by implementing a minimal set of security controls and deferring comprehensive audit logging configuration to a post-deployment phase, with a plan to address any identified gaps later. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a common challenge in collaboration server deployments, balancing the immediate needs of business units with the long-term security and compliance requirements mandated by regulatory frameworks. In this scenario, the IT security team is tasked with ensuring that the new Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, deployment adheres to the specific security policies and audit trails required by the relevant regulatory body. The challenge lies in the fact that the business unit is pushing for rapid deployment to meet a critical business deadline, potentially leading to shortcuts that could compromise compliance. The correct approach involves a proactive and collaborative engagement with the business unit to educate them on the regulatory imperatives and to integrate security and compliance requirements into the project timeline from the outset. This aligns with the principles of security by design and compliance by design, which are fundamental to responsible IT governance. By involving stakeholders early and demonstrating how security measures support business objectives, e.g., preventing data breaches, ensuring service availability, the IT security team can build consensus and avoid costly remediation later. This approach is best professional practice because it prioritizes adherence to the specific regulatory framework governing the organization's operations, ensuring that the deployment is not only functional but also legally and ethically sound. It also fosters a culture of security awareness within the organization. An incorrect approach would be to bypass or significantly relax security configurations to meet the business unit's deadline. This directly violates the spirit and letter of regulatory requirements that mandate robust security controls and audit capabilities for collaboration systems. For instance, failing to implement appropriate access controls or neglecting to configure detailed logging for user activities would expose the organization to significant compliance risks, including potential fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. Another incorrect approach would be to defer all security and compliance considerations to a later phase. This is a reactive stance that often leads to rushed, inadequate solutions and can be far more expensive and disruptive than proactive integration. It demonstrates a lack of understanding of the continuous nature of compliance and the interconnectedness of security with business operations. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes understanding the specific regulatory obligations first. This involves identifying all applicable laws, regulations, and internal policies related to data security, privacy, and auditability for collaboration systems. Next, they should assess the technical capabilities of the Cisco collaboration appliances against these requirements. Crucially, they must engage in open communication with all stakeholders, including business units and legal/compliance departments, to explain the rationale behind security and compliance measures and to negotiate realistic timelines that accommodate these essential aspects. When faced with conflicting priorities, the professional decision-making process should involve escalating the issue to senior management with a clear presentation of risks and potential consequences, rather than making unilateral decisions that compromise compliance. Question 3. Risk assessment procedures indicate that a critical Cisco collaboration server is experiencing intermittent service disruptions impacting essential business communications. To diagnose and resolve the issue promptly, the IT support team requires access to sensitive call logs and user communication metadata. Which of the following approaches best aligns with regulatory requirements for data protection and incident response? Option A. Grant the entire IT support team standing administrative privileges to all sensitive data on the collaboration server to ensure immediate access for any potential troubleshooting needs. Option B. Allow IT support personnel to bypass formal access control mechanisms and retrieve data using ad hoc methods during the emergency to expedite the troubleshooting process. Option C. Delay all diagnostic access to the collaboration server until a formal, in-depth security audit of the entire system can be completed, even if this significantly extends the resolution time for the service disruption. Option D. Implement a predefined, documented, and auditable emergency access procedure that grants temporary, role-based access to the necessary data, with all access actions logged and subject to post-incident review. The correct answer is D. Implement a predefined, documented, and auditable emergency access procedure that grants temporary, role-based access to the necessary data, with all access actions logged and subject to post-incident review. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between maintaining robust security for sensitive collaboration data and the operational need for timely access and troubleshooting by authorized personnel. The challenge lies in balancing these competing interests while adhering to the specific regulatory framework governing the use of Cisco collaboration servers and appliances within the exam's implied jurisdiction, which, for the purpose of this exam, is assumed to be a jurisdiction with stringent data privacy and security regulations, similar to GDPR or HIPAA, but strictly adhering to the exam's scope. The need for rapid incident response, especially in a critical infrastructure context, can conflict with the principle of least privilege and the requirement for explicit authorization for data access. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach emphasizes a predefined, documented, and auditable process for emergency access to sensitive collaboration data. This aligns with regulatory requirements for data protection and incident response. Specifically, it necessitates that any emergency access is logged, justified, and reviewed, ensuring accountability and compliance with data privacy principles. This approach upholds the integrity of the data by minimizing unauthorized exposure and provides a clear audit trail, which is crucial for regulatory compliance and post-incident analysis. It demonstrates a commitment to both security and operational continuity within a controlled framework. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves granting broad, standing administrative access to all sensitive data for the IT support team. This violates the principle of least privilege, a fundamental tenet of data security and regulatory compliance. It creates an unacceptable risk of accidental or intentional data breaches, as a larger group of individuals would have access to information they do not strictly need for their daily tasks. This lack of granular control is a direct contravention of regulations requiring data minimization and access control. Another incorrect approach is to bypass formal access procedures during emergencies, relying on ad hoc methods. This undermines the auditability and accountability required by regulatory frameworks. Without a documented process, it becomes impossible to verify who accessed what data, when, and why, making it difficult to demonstrate compliance during an audit or to investigate security incidents effectively. This approach introduces significant security vulnerabilities and regulatory noncompliance. A third incorrect approach is to delay emergency access until all non-essential personnel are completely removed from the system, even if this significantly prolongs the incident response time. While security is paramount, regulations often mandate reasonable and timely incident response. An overly protracted response due to unnecessary procedural hurdles can itself be a failure, potentially leading to greater damage or disruption, and may not align with the spirit of business continuity and disaster recovery requirements often embedded in regulatory frameworks. Professional reasoning. Professionals must adopt a risk-based approach that prioritizes security and compliance while enabling necessary operational functions. This involves establishing clear policies and procedures for data access, including specific protocols for emergency situations. The decision-making process should involve 1. Identifying critical data assets and their sensitivity. 2. Defining roles and responsibilities with associated access privileges based on the principle of least privilege. 3. Developing a documented emergency access procedure that includes authorization, logging, justification, and post-access review. 4. Regularly reviewing and updating access controls and emergency procedures based on evolving threats and regulatory changes. 5. ensuring that all access, including emergency access, is auditable. Question 4. Implementation of a new Cisco collaboration platform across the organization, including voice, video, and messaging services, requires careful consideration of data handling and security. Given the sensitive nature of business communications, what is the most appropriate approach to ensure compliance with relevant U.S. data privacy and security regulations from the project's inception? Option A. Proactively engage legal and compliance teams to define data handling policies and security configurations aligned with U.S. regulatory frameworks before and during the implementation. Option B. Rely on the default security settings provided by Cisco and assume they meet all applicable U.S. regulatory requirements for data privacy and security. Option C. Assume that the vendor's standard terms of service and privacy policy are sufficient to cover all organizational compliance obligations under U.S. law. Option D. Prioritize rapid deployment and user feature adoption, addressing security and compliance concerns only after the platform is fully operational and user feedback is gathered. The correct answer is A. Proactively engage legal and compliance teams to define data handling policies and security configurations aligned with U.S. regulatory frameworks before and during the implementation. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in enterprise IT environments where a new collaboration platform is being deployed. The core difficulty lies in balancing the immediate operational needs of the business with the long-term security and compliance requirements mandated by regulatory frameworks. Specifically, the Cisco Collaboration Servers and Appliances Exam 500-325 implies a focus on U.S. regulatory frameworks relevant to data privacy and security in telecommunications and enterprise systems. The challenge is to ensure that the implementation adheres to these regulations from the outset, preventing costly remediation efforts and potential legal repercussions. The pressure to deliver a functional system quickly can often lead to shortcuts that compromise compliance. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves proactively engaging with legal and compliance teams to define data handling policies and security configurations that align with relevant U.S. regulations, such as those pertaining to data privacy, e.g., HIPAA for healthcare, COPPA for children's data if applicable, or general data protection principles under state laws like CCPA/CPRA, and telecommunications security, e.g., FCC regulations. This ensures that the Cisco collaboration solution is designed and implemented with compliance as a foundational element, not an afterthought. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of noncompliance, protects sensitive data, and builds trust with stakeholders and regulatory bodies. It demonstrates a commitment to responsible technology deployment, which is a cornerstone of professional IT practice. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing the collaboration platform without consulting legal and compliance teams and relying solely on vendor default security settings is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach ignores the specific data types that will be processed and stored by the collaboration platform and the unique compliance obligations of the organization. It risks violating data privacy laws by mishandling sensitive information, leading to fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. Another incorrect approach is to prioritize user convenience and feature availability over security and compliance configurations. While user adoption is important, it cannot supersede legal mandates. This can result in insecure configurations, such as weak authentication, unencrypted data transmission, or improper access controls, which directly contravene regulatory requirements for data protection and system integrity. Finally, assuming that vendor-provided documentation is sufficient for compliance without independent verification or tailoring to the organization's specific context is also a failure. Vendor documentation typically outlines general security best practices, but does not account for the specific regulatory landscape or the organization's unique risk profile. This can lead to a false sense of security and a failure to meet specific legal obligations. Professional reasoning. Professionals must adopt a risk-based approach to technology implementation. This involves identifying potential compliance risks early in the project lifecycle, understanding the relevant regulatory landscape, and integrating compliance requirements into the design and deployment phases. A key decision-making process involves a thorough risk assessment, consultation with subject matter experts, legal, compliance, security, and the development of a comprehensive compliance plan that guides the implementation and ongoing management of the collaboration solution. Prioritizing proactive engagement and due diligence over expediency is essential for ethical and professional conduct. Question 5. Governance review demonstrates that the organization is planning to deploy Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, and Cisco Expressway to facilitate secure external collaboration. The review highlights potential risks related to the handling of protected health information, FI, and financial transaction data, which are subject to U.S. federal regulations. Which of the following deployment strategies best ensures compliance with these regulatory frameworks while enabling the intended collaboration benefits? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment specifically for the collaboration deployment, mapping CUCM and Expressway features to relevant U.S. regulations e.g., HIPAA, SOX, and implement granular access controls, end-to-end encryption for sensitive communication, and robust audit logging for all interactions. Option B. Implement CUCM and Expressway with default security settings and rely on existing network firewalls to protect data, assuming that the vendor's reputation guarantees compliance. Option C. Deploy CUCM and Expressway solely within the internal network, restricting external collaboration to non-sensitive communication channels, and deferring any solutions for secure external PHI or financial data exchange to a future project. Option D. Prioritize the speed of deployment and user adoption by enabling all features immediately and addressing any potential compliance issues in a post-implementation audit, assuming that minor deviations will be tolerated by regulators. The correct answer is B. Implement CUCM and Expressway with default security settings and rely on existing network firewalls to protect data, assuming that the vendor's reputation guarantees compliance. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT governance, where the implementation of new collaboration technologies must align with existing regulatory compliance requirements. The core difficulty lies in balancing the benefits of enhanced communication and productivity offered by Cisco collaboration servers with the stringent data privacy and security mandates. Specifically, the exam syllabus for 500-325 Cisco collaboration servers and appliances implies a focus on U.S. regulatory frameworks relevant to data handling and communication security. The correct approach involves a proactive and integrated strategy. It necessitates a thorough understanding of the specific Cisco collaboration features being deployed, their data storage mechanisms, and how they interact with sensitive information. This understanding must then be mapped against relevant U.S. regulations such as HIPAA for healthcare data, SOX for financial data, or general data privacy laws like CCPA, depending on the industry and data types involved. Implementing robust access controls, encryption, audit trails, and data retention policies directly addresses these regulatory concerns. This approach represents best professional practice because it embeds compliance from the outset, minimizing the risk of future breaches or violations, and ensuring that the technology serves business needs without compromising legal obligations. Demonstrates a commitment to responsible technology deployment and stakeholder trust. An incorrect approach would be to prioritize functionality or cost savings over compliance. For instance, deploying collaboration tools without assessing their impact on data residency requirements or without implementing appropriate security measures for sensitive communications would be a significant regulatory failure. This could lead to violations of data privacy laws, resulting in substantial fines, reputational damage, and loss of customer trust. Another failure would be to assume that standard security measures are sufficient without a specific review of the collaboration platform's unique vulnerabilities and data handling practices. This oversight could leave sensitive data exposed, violating the principle of due diligence required by many U.S. regulations. Professionals should adopt a risk-based decision-making framework. This involves identifying potential compliance risks associated with the technology deployment, assessing their likelihood and impact, and then developing mitigation strategies. This framework should include close collaboration between IT, legal, and compliance departments. Regular audits and reviews of the implemented controls are also crucial to ensure ongoing adherence to regulations. Question 6. Stakeholder feedback indicates intermittent performance degradation impacting the Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, cluster, affecting call quality and messaging services. The IT team is under pressure to restore full functionality immediately. Which of the following approaches best aligns with the regulatory framework and best practices for managing such a critical collaboration service? Option A. Apply a series of unverified configuration changes and component replacements across the CUCM cluster based on anecdotal evidence from similar past incidents. Option B. Implement a quick fix by restarting all CUCM services and rebooting the affected servers without a thorough investigation into the underlying cause of the degradation. Option C. Immediately deploy a temporary workaround by disabling certain security features on the CUCM to alleviate the performance load, with plans to address the security implications later. Option D. Conduct a comprehensive root cause analysis of the CUCM performance issues, reviewing system logs, network traffic, and configuration settings for compliance with security and operational guidelines before implementing any corrective actions. The correct answer is D. Conduct a comprehensive root cause analysis of the CUCM performance issues, reviewing system logs, network traffic, and configuration settings for compliance with security and operational guidelines before implementing any corrective actions. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure management where a critical collaboration service, vital for business operation, experiences intermittent performance degradation. The challenge lies in balancing the immediate need for service restoration with the long-term implications of the chosen solution, particularly concerning compliance and security. Stakeholders, including end users and management, will have varying priorities, from immediate functionality to cost-effectiveness and adherence to established protocols. The pressure to resolve the issue quickly can lead to shortcuts that might compromise security or regulatory compliance, making a structured, compliant approach paramount. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic investigation that prioritizes identifying the root cause of the performance issue within the existing Cisco collaboration infrastructure. This includes reviewing system logs, network diagnostics, and configuration settings, all while adhering to the security and operational guidelines mandated by the 500-325 Cisco collaboration servers and appliances exams regulatory framework. This framework likely emphasizes principles of secure configuration, data integrity, and service availability. By focusing on a thorough, compliant root cause analysis, the team ensures that any implemented fix addresses the underlying problem, prevents recurrence, and maintains the integrity and security of the collaboration environment, thereby upholding regulatory requirements for system stability and data protection. Incorrect approaches analysis. Implementing a quick fix without a proper root cause analysis is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach bypasses the due diligence required to ensure the solution is robust and does not introduce new vulnerabilities or compliance risks. It could lead to a recurrence of the problem, potentially impacting business continuity and violating service-level agreements, SLAs, or other regulatory mandates concerning system uptime and reliability. Applying a workaround that bypasses security protocols or data encryption mechanisms, even temporarily, is a direct violation of security best practices and likely regulatory requirements for data privacy and protection. Such actions expose sensitive communication data to unauthorized access or breaches, leading to severe legal and reputational consequences. Replacing components or making configuration changes based on assumptions rather than evidence is also professionally unacceptable. This shotgun approach can introduce new issues, destabilize the system further, and waste resources. Demonstrates a lack of technical rigor and a failure to follow established troubleshooting methodologies, which are often implicitly or explicitly part of regulatory compliance frameworks that demand efficient and effective problem resolution. Professional reasoning. Professionals facing such situations should adopt a structured problem-solving methodology. This begins with clearly defining the problem and its impact. Next, gather all relevant data, including logs, performance metrics, and user reports. Formulate hypotheses about the root cause and test them systematically. Prioritize solutions that align with security policies, regulatory requirements, and best practices for the specific Cisco collaboration platform. Document all steps taken, findings, and implemented solutions. This methodical approach ensures that resolutions are effective, compliant, and sustainable, fostering trust and demonstrating professional accountability. Question 7. The monitoring system demonstrates a recurring pattern of intermittent call quality degradation on a specific Cisco Unified Communications Manager cluster serving a critical business unit. The system logs indicate high CPU utilization on several Unified Communications Manager nodes during these degradation events, but the exact cause is not immediately apparent. What is the most professional and compliant approach to address this issue? Option A. Directly adjust the CPU scheduling priorities on the affected Unified Communications Manager nodes to allocate more resources to the call processing processes. Option B. Disable voice services for the affected business unit until the issue can be fully investigated to prevent further user complaints. Option C. Immediately restart all Unified Communications Manager nodes in the affected cluster to clear the high CPU utilization and restore call quality. Option D. Initiate a controlled troubleshooting process involving detailed log analysis, performance metric review, and a phased approach to testing potential configuration adjustments or software patches, with clear rollback procedures and stakeholder communication throughout. The correct answer is D. Initiate a controlled troubleshooting process involving detailed log analysis, performance metric review, and a phased approach to testing potential configuration adjustments or software patches, with clear rollback procedures and stakeholder communication throughout. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the critical nature of collaboration services and the potential impact of service degradation on business operations and user productivity. The need to balance proactive issue resolution with the potential for unintended consequences of configuration changes requires careful judgment. Adhering to the Cisco 500-325 exam's regulatory framework, which implicitly emphasizes operational stability, security, and compliance within a business context, is paramount. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a structured, risk-averse methodology for addressing service anomalies. By involving relevant stakeholders, performing thorough root cause analysis, and implementing changes in a controlled manner with rollback plans, it minimizes the risk of further disruption. This aligns with the implicit regulatory expectation of maintaining reliable and secure communication systems, ensuring business continuity and user trust. An incorrect approach that bypasses established change management processes and directly modifies critical configuration parameters without proper testing or stakeholder approval is professionally unacceptable. This could lead to unintended service outages, data corruption, or security vulnerabilities, directly contravening the implied regulatory requirements for system integrity and operational resilience. Such actions demonstrate a disregard for established protocols and a failure to manage risk effectively, potentially leading to significant business impact and reputational damage. Another incorrect approach that involves immediate deactivation of the affected service without a clear understanding of the root cause or a defined restoration plan is also professionally unsound. While seemingly decisive, it can cause significant disruption to users and business processes without addressing the underlying issue. This reactive, rather than proactive, approach fails to meet the professional standard of ensuring service availability and minimizing downtime through informed decision-making. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a systematic approach. First, clearly define the observed anomaly and its potential impact. Second, engage with relevant stakeholders to understand the business context and criticality of the affected service. Third, conduct a thorough root cause analysis, utilizing available monitoring tools and logs. Fourth, develop a remediation plan that includes testing, change control, and rollback procedures. Finally, implement the change in a controlled environment, monitor its effectiveness, and document the entire process. This structured decision-making framework ensures that actions are informed, risk-mitigated, and aligned with professional and regulatory expectations for maintaining robust and reliable collaboration systems. Question 8. Investigation of a new Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, deployment in a financial services firm requires a decision on the implementation strategy. The firm handles sensitive customer financial data and is subject to strict data privacy regulations. The primary goal is to enhance internal and external communication capabilities while ensuring absolute adherence to all relevant compliance mandates. Which implementation approach best balances these objectives? Option A. Focus on integrating the CUCM with existing communication channels to streamline workflows, with security and compliance being secondary considerations to be retrofitted as needed. Option B. Prioritize immediate full deployment of all CUCM features to maximize user adoption and productivity, addressing security and compliance concerns in subsequent phases. Option C. Implement advanced collaboration features first, assuming that standard security protocols will suffice, and deferring detailed compliance checks until after the system is operational. Option D. Conduct a thorough risk assessment and compliance audit prior to full deployment, followed by a phased rollout with robust security controls and user training. The correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough risk assessment and compliance audit prior to full deployment, followed by a phased rollout with robust security controls and user training. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge involving the implementation of a new Cisco collaboration server, specifically the Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, within a regulated financial services environment. The core challenge lies in balancing the need for advanced collaboration features with strict adherence to data privacy regulations and internal security policies. The decision-maker must navigate potential conflicts between user experience, operational efficiency, and compliance requirements, particularly concerning the handling of sensitive customer communications. The complexity arises from the interconnectedness of collaboration tools with core business functions, and the potential for data leakage or unauthorized access if not configured and managed appropriately. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a phased implementation strategy that prioritizes security and compliance from the outset. This includes conducting a thorough risk assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities and compliance gaps related to data storage, transmission, and access controls within CUCM. Implementing robust encryption for both data at rest and in transit, along with granular access controls aligned with the principle of least privilege, directly addresses regulatory requirements such as those pertaining to data protection and customer confidentiality. Establishing comprehensive audit trails and logging mechanisms is crucial for demonstrating compliance and enabling forensic analysis in case of an incident. Furthermore, user training on secure collaboration practices reinforces the technical controls. This approach aligns with best practices for IT governance and risk management, ensuring that the deployment of new technology does not compromise the organization's regulatory standing or security posture. Incorrect approach is analysis. Prioritizing immediate full deployment without a comprehensive security and compliance review is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach risks non-compliance with data protection laws, potentially leading to substantial fines and reputational damage. It also exposes the organization to security breaches by failing to implement necessary safeguards from the start. Implementing advanced collaboration features without adequately assessing their impact on data privacy and security is another failure. This could result in the inadvertent collection or exposure of sensitive customer information, violating privacy regulations and eroding customer trust. The lack of a proactive risk assessment means that potential vulnerabilities are not identified or mitigated before they can be exploited. Focusing solely on user adoption and feature richness, while deferring security and compliance considerations to a later stage, is a flawed strategy. This move fast and break things mentality is incompatible with the stringent regulatory environment of financial services. It creates a reactive rather than proactive security posture, making it more difficult and costly to remediate issues once they arise. This approach demonstrates a disregard for the organization's legal and ethical obligations. Professional reasoning. Professionals in this domain should employ a structured decision-making framework that integrates risk management and compliance into every stage of technology deployment. This framework typically involves 1. Requirements gathering. Clearly define business needs alongside all applicable regulatory and security requirements. 2. Risk assessment. Proactively identify potential threats and vulnerabilities associated with the technology and its intended use. 3. Solution design. Architect the solution with security and compliance as foundational elements, not afterthoughts. 4. Phased implementation. Deploy in stages, allowing for testing, validation, and adjustment to ensure controls are effective. 5. Monitoring and auditing. Continuously monitor the system for security events and compliance deviations, and conduct regular audits. 6. Continuous improvement. Regularly review and update security and compliance measures as threats evolve and regulations change. Question 9. What factors determine the most appropriate strategy for integrating a new Cisco collaboration feature into an existing on-premises infrastructure, considering potential security implications and operational impact? Option A. The cost savings associated with the new feature, even if it requires bypassing existing security protocols or significantly impacting system performance. Option B. A thorough assessment of the new feature's security posture, its compatibility with the current Cisco collaboration server versions and network architecture, and its alignment with organizational data handling policies. Option C. The perceived ease of deployment based on vendor marketing materials, without independent verification of compatibility or security. Option D. The urgency of the business request for the new feature, regardless of potential technical challenges or security risks. The correct answer is B. A thorough assessment of the new feature's security posture, its compatibility with the current Cisco collaboration server versions and network architecture, and its alignment with organizational data handling policies. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure management, balancing the immediate need for a new collaboration feature with the long-term implications of its deployment on an existing, potentially aging Cisco collaboration infrastructure. The challenge lies in making a decision that is not only technically sound, but also compliant with the specific regulatory framework governing the use of such technologies within the exam's jurisdiction, which, for 500-325 Cisco collaboration servers and appliances, implies a focus on general IT best practices and potentially industry-specific regulations if applicable, but without explicit mention of a specific country. We adhere to general principles of responsible IT deployment and security. The need for a new feature might be driven by business requirements, but a hasty decision without proper evaluation can lead to security vulnerabilities, performance degradation, or non-compliance with data handling policies. The correct approach involves a comprehensive assessment that prioritizes security, compliance, and integration feasibility. This aligns with best professional practices in IT governance, which mandate a risk-based approach to technology adoption. Specifically, it requires evaluating the proposed solution against existing security policies, data privacy regulations, e.g., GDPR principles if applicable to the jurisdiction, or equivalent local data protection laws, and the operational capabilities of the current infrastructure, ensuring that the new feature can be deployed without compromising the integrity or confidentiality of communications, and that it adheres to any relevant service level agreements or industry standards, is paramount. An incorrect approach would be to prioritize the new feature's functionality above all else, neglecting thorough security vetting. This could lead to the introduction of vulnerabilities that attackers could exploit, potentially resulting in data breaches or service disruptions, which would be a direct violation of general IT security principles and any applicable data protection laws. Another incorrect approach is to assume compatibility without testing, which ignores the inherent complexities of integrating new software with existing hardware and software stacks. This can lead to unexpected performance issues, system instability, and increased support costs, failing to meet the professional obligation to ensure reliable and efficient operations. Finally, ignoring the potential impact on user experience and training needs can lead to low adoption rates and user frustration, undermining the very purpose of deploying the new collaboration feature. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework that includes 1. Defining the business need and desired outcomes, 2. Identifying potential solutions, 3. Conducting a thorough risk assessment including security, compliance, and operational risks, 4. Evaluating technical feasibility and integration requirements, 5. Assessing the total cost of ownership, and 6. Developing a deployment and change management plan. This systematic process ensures that decisions are well-informed, aligned with organizational goals, and compliant with relevant standards and regulations. Question 10. When evaluating the integration of new Cisco collaboration servers and appliances into an existing network infrastructure, which approach best ensures a stable, secure, and supportable deployment while adhering to professional IT deployment best practices? Option A. Assume the existing network infrastructure is compatible and will function adequately with the new collaboration servers, proceeding with deployment without prior verification. Option B. Proceed with the deployment of the collaboration servers immediately and address any network compatibility issues that arise during or after the implementation. Option C. Prioritize the deployment of the collaboration servers and plan to upgrade network infrastructure only if significant performance issues are reported by users. Option D. Conduct a thorough compatibility assessment of all network infrastructure components against Cisco's documented requirements and ensure all devices are within their vendor support lifecycle before proceeding with the deployment. Correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough compatibility assessment of all network infrastructure components against Cisco's documented requirements and ensure all devices are within their vendor support lifecycle before proceeding with the deployment. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure deployment, where a new collaboration solution needs to integrate with existing, potentially aging network components. The professional challenge lies in balancing the immediate need for a functional and secure collaboration system with the long-term implications of technical debt and potential security vulnerabilities introduced by incompatible or unsupported hardware. The decision-making process requires careful consideration of technical feasibility, security posture, operational impact, and adherence to organizational policies and vendor support lifecycles. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough assessment of the existing infrastructure's compatibility with the new Cisco collaboration servers and appliances. This includes verifying that network devices, routers, switches, firewalls, meet the minimum hardware and software requirements specified by Cisco for the chosen collaboration solution. It also entails confirming that these devices are within their vendor support lifecycle, ensuring access to necessary firmware updates, security patches, and technical assistance. This proactive validation minimizes the risk of performance degradation, security breaches, and operational disruptions, aligning with best practices for IT system integration and risk management. Adhering to vendor specifications and support policies is crucial for maintaining a stable and secure environment, which is implicitly expected under general IT governance and security frameworks, even if not explicitly detailed in a specific regulation for this exam. Incorrect approaches analysis. Implementing the new collaboration solution without verifying network infrastructure compatibility is a significant professional failure. This approach ignores potential interoperability issues that could lead to poor call quality, dropped connections, and system instability. It also bypasses critical security considerations, as older network devices might lack the necessary features or support for modern security protocols required by the collaboration platform, exposing the organization to vulnerabilities. Deploying the solution and planning to address compatibility issues post-implementation is also professionally unsound. This reactive strategy introduces unnecessary risk and potential downtime. It suggests a lack of foresight and planning, which can lead to costly emergency fixes and reputational damage. Furthermore, it may violate internal change management policies that require thorough pre-implementation assessments. Prioritizing the immediate deployment of the collaboration servers without any regard for the underlying network infrastructure, assuming it will just work, demonstrates a disregard for fundamental networking principles and vendor best practices. This can lead to unforeseen problems that are difficult and expensive to troubleshoot, impacting user productivity and potentially leading to security incidents. This approach fails to uphold the professional responsibility of ensuring a robust and secure IT environment. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework that begins with a comprehensive requirements gathering phase. This includes understanding the technical specifications of the new collaboration solution and the current state of the existing network infrastructure. A risk assessment should then be conducted to identify potential compatibility issues, security gaps, and operational impacts. Based on this assessment, a phased implementation plan should be developed, prioritizing compatibility verification and necessary upgrades or replacements of network components before the full deployment of the collaboration servers. This approach ensures that the solution is deployed in a stable, secure, and supportable environment, minimizing risks and maximizing the return on investment. Question 11. Cost-benefit analysis shows that a significantly lower upfront purchase price is available for a Cisco collaboration server model that is nearing its end-of-support lifecycle, compared to a newer model with a longer support period and advanced features. The older model meets the current basic collaboration needs, but lacks the scalability and advanced security features of the newer model, which approach best aligns with responsible IT asset management and long-term business objectives. Option A. Opt for the older, cheaper model and attempt to extend its support through third-party maintenance contracts, disregarding the vendor's official support lifecycle. Option B. Select the newer model, investing in a solution that offers extended support, enhanced security, and future scalability, even with a higher initial cost. Option C. Choose the older, cheaper model and focus solely on its current functionality, assuming that future business needs will not significantly change and that security risks can be mitigated through other means. Option D. Purchase the older, cheaper model and plan for a complete replacement within 2 years, accepting the increased risk of security vulnerabilities and potential compliance issues in the interim. Correct answer is B. Select the newer model, investing in a solution that offers extended support, enhanced security, and future scalability, even with a higher initial cost. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure deployment, balancing immediate cost savings with long-term operational efficiency and compliance. The decision maker must consider not only the upfront financial implications, but also the potential for increased support costs, security vulnerabilities, and the ability to meet future business needs. The Cisco Collaboration Servers and Appliances exam syllabus emphasizes understanding the practical application of these technologies within a business context, which includes making informed decisions about their implementation and management. The correct approach prioritizes a holistic view, considering the total cost of ownership, TCO, and the strategic alignment of the chosen solution with the organization's objectives. This involves evaluating factors beyond the initial purchase price, such as ongoing maintenance, support contracts, potential for scalability, and the vendor's track record for security updates and feature enhancements. Adhering to Cisco's recommended deployment practices and considering the long-term support lifecycle of the chosen hardware and software are crucial for ensuring a stable, secure, and compliant collaboration environment. This aligns with the exam's focus on practical deployment and management within a business framework. An incorrect approach that solely focuses on the lowest upfront cost overlooks critical factors. This could lead to a situation where the organization incurs higher operational expenses due to increased troubleshooting, frequent hardware replacements, or the inability to integrate with newer technologies. Furthermore, choosing a solution that is nearing its end-of-support lifecycle, even if cheaper initially, poses significant security risks and compliance challenges, as it may not receive necessary security patches or updates. This directly contravenes the principles of responsible IT asset management and could lead to regulatory noncompliance if data security standards are not met. Another incorrect approach might be to select a solution based on perceived ease of use without verifying its compatibility with existing infrastructure or its ability to meet specific business process requirements, leading to operational inefficiencies and potential rework. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the business requirements and technical specifications. This should be followed by a thorough evaluation of potential solutions, considering not just initial cost, but also TCO, vendor support, security, scalability, and alignment with strategic goals. A pilot program or proof of concept can be invaluable in validating the chosen solution's performance and suitability before full-scale deployment. Regular review and reassessment of the deployed infrastructure are also essential to ensure it continues to meet evolving business needs and regulatory requirements. Question 12. Compliance review shows that the Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, deployed within the organization has reached its end-of-support (YOS) date. The system is critical for daily business operations, and there are no immediate budget allocations for a full upgrade to a supported version. What is the most appropriate course of action to ensure continued operational integrity and mitigate security risks? Option A. Continue operating the current CUCM version, relying on internal IT expertise to manage potential issues and security threats as they arise. Option B. Defer any action until a specific critical failure or security incident occurs, at which point a reactive upgrade or replacement will be considered. Option C. Implement temporary workarounds and patches for known vulnerabilities to extend the lifespan of the unsupported CUCM system until a budget is approved. Option D. Initiate a phased migration plan to a supported version of CUCM, prioritizing critical functionalities and gradually transitioning users and services. Correct answer is D. Initiate a phased migration plan to a supported version of CUCM, prioritizing critical functionalities and gradually transitioning users and services. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure management where a critical component, the Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, is nearing its end of support (YOS) date. The challenge lies in balancing the immediate operational needs of the business with the long-term strategic and security implications of using unsupported software. The pressure to maintain service continuity, coupled with potential budget constraints or a lack of immediate upgrade resources, can lead to decisions that prioritize short-term fixes over robust, compliant solutions. The risk of security vulnerabilities, lack of vendor support for critical issues, and potential non-compliance with internal IT policies or industry best practices makes this a professionally demanding situation requiring careful judgment. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a proactive and phased migration strategy. This aligns with best professional practices by prioritizing security, stability, and future scalability. By initiating a phased migration to a supported version of CUCM, the organization ensures that it remains within the vendor's support lifecycle, thereby gaining access to security patches, bug fixes, and technical assistance. This minimizes the risk of system downtime due to unaddressed vulnerabilities or critical failures. Furthermore, a phased approach allows for thorough testing, user training, and a controlled transition, reducing disruption to business operations. This strategy also demonstrates due diligence in IT asset management and adherence to responsible technology lifecycle management, which are implicit requirements for maintaining a secure and reliable collaboration environment. Incorrect approaches analysis. Continuing to operate the CUCM beyond its EOS date without a clear upgrade plan is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This exposes the organization to unpatched security vulnerabilities, which could lead to data breaches, service disruptions, and reputational damage. It also means that in the event of a critical system failure, Cisco would not provide support, potentially leading to prolonged downtime and substantial business impact. This approach disregards the principles of risk management and IT governance. Implementing a hotfix or workaround without a formal upgrade path is also professionally unacceptable. While it might temporarily address an immediate issue, it does not resolve the underlying problem of running an unsupported system. Such workarounds are often brittle, difficult to maintain, and can introduce new complexities or security risks. They fail to address the fundamental need for a supported and secure platform and can lead to a false sense of security. Delaying the decision and hoping for a future budget allocation without concrete planning is a passive and risky approach. This demonstrates a lack of proactive IT management and strategic foresight. It allows the risk exposure to grow over time and does not provide a clear roadmap for resolution, potentially leading to a crisis situation when the system eventually fails or a critical vulnerability is exploited. This inaction can be seen as a failure to uphold professional responsibility in managing IT infrastructure. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework when faced with end-of-support scenarios. This framework typically involves 1. Risk assessment. Identify and quantify the risks associated with continuing to use unsupported technology, including security, operational, and compliance risks. 2. Impact analysis. Determine the potential business impact of system failures or security breaches. 3. Solution evaluation. Research and evaluate available supported alternatives, considering features, costs, and implementation complexity. 4. Strategic planning. Develop a phased migration plan that includes timelines, resource allocation, testing, and rollback procedures. 5. Stakeholder communication. Engage with relevant stakeholders, IT, business units, management, to communicate risks, propose solutions, and obtain necessary approvals. 6. Implementation and validation. Execute the migration plan, followed by thorough testing and validation to ensure successful deployment and operational stability. 7. Continuous monitoring. Establish ongoing monitoring and review processes to ensure the continued security and performance of the upgraded system. Question 13. Operational review demonstrates intermittent performance degradation on a critical Cisco collaboration server, impacting user experience and call quality. The IT team is under pressure to restore full functionality immediately. Which of the following actions represents the most professional and compliant approach to resolving this issue? Option A. Advise users to avoid high-bandwidth collaboration features temporarily while monitoring the situation, hoping the issue resolves itself without intervention. Option B. Apply a recently released vendor patch that claims to address general performance issues without performing a full diagnostic or formal change control to expedite service restoration. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive diagnostic to identify the root cause of the performance degradation. Document all findings, and then implement a tested and approved solution following established change management procedures. Option D. Immediately roll back the server configuration to its last known stable state, assuming the recent changes are the cause, and defer further investigation until after normal business hours. Correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive diagnostic to identify the root cause of the performance degradation, document all findings, and then implement a tested and approved solution following established change management procedures. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure management, where a critical collaboration server experiences intermittent performance degradation. The challenge lies in balancing the immediate need for service restoration with the long-term implications of the chosen solution, particularly concerning compliance and security. The pressure to resolve the issue quickly can lead to rushed decisions that might bypass established protocols or introduce new vulnerabilities. The interconnected nature of collaboration systems means that a hasty fix could have cascading effects on other services or user experience. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic, documented investigation that prioritizes understanding the root cause before implementing a solution. This aligns with best practices for IT service management and regulatory compliance, which often mandate thorough incident response and change management processes. By following a structured decision-making framework, the IT team ensures that any implemented changes are justified, tested, and have minimal impact on the overall system stability and security. This methodical approach also provides an audit trail, crucial for demonstrating due diligence and adherence to any relevant Cisco collaboration, server guidelines, or internal IT policies. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing a quick patch without a full diagnostic is problematic because it risks addressing a symptom rather than the root cause, potentially leading to recurring issues or unforeseen side effects. This bypasses proper change management procedures, which are often implicitly or explicitly required by IT governance frameworks to ensure that changes are controlled, tested, and approved, thereby mitigating risks. Such an approach could violate internal security policies and potentially expose the system to new vulnerabilities if the patch itself is not thoroughly vetted. Rolling back to a previous configuration without understanding the trigger for the degradation is also a flawed strategy. While it might temporarily restore service, it doesn't address the underlying problem and could lead to the same issues resurfacing. Furthermore, without proper documentation of the rollback, it can be difficult to track system changes and troubleshoot future incidents, potentially impacting compliance with audit requirements. Ignoring the issue and hoping it resolves itself is the most egregious failure. This demonstrates a lack of proactive management and a disregard for service availability and user productivity. It directly contravenes the principles of IT service management and any service-level agreements, SLAs, that might be in place. This passive approach can lead to significant business disruption and potential reputational damage, and it fails to meet any reasonable standard of operational responsibility. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework that begins with thorough problem identification and root cause analysis. This involves gathering data, consulting documentation, including Cisco's official guidelines for the specific server models, and potentially engaging vendor support. Once the root cause is identified, potential solutions should be evaluated based on their effectiveness, impact, cost, and compliance implications. A formal change management process, including risk assessment and rollback planning, should be followed before implementing any solution. Continuous monitoring and verification after implementation are also critical to ensure the problem is resolved and no new issues have arisen. Question 14. Compliance review shows that a critical Cisco Unified Communications Manager (CUCM) feature is experiencing intermittent failures, impacting user call quality. The IT operations team has identified a potential patch from Cisco that could resolve the issue, but applying it requires a temporary service interruption. The change management board meets only bi-weekly, and the next meeting is 3 weeks away. The operations team is concerned about prolonged user dissatisfaction and potential escalation of the issue. Which of the following represents the most appropriate decision-making approach in this scenario, considering the need for timely resolution while adhering to established IT governance and security principles? Option A. Escalate the issue to senior management, requesting an emergency change management board meeting to review and approve the patch application. Option B. Immediately apply the patch to resolve the user-impacting issue, documenting the change retrospectively and informing the change management board of the action taken. Option C. Inform users that the issue is being investigated and will be resolved at the next scheduled change management board meeting, advising them to use alternative communication methods if possible. Option D. Proceed with applying the patch without formal approval, as the issue is user-impacting and the solution is provided by the vendor. The correct answer is B. Immediately apply the patch to resolve the user-impacting issue, documenting the change retrospectively and informing the change management board of the action taken. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure management, balancing the need for immediate operational improvements with the imperative of adhering to established security and compliance protocols. The challenge lies in the potential for rapid deployment of new features or fixes to address user-reported issues, which can create a temptation to bypass or expedite standard review processes. This is particularly acute in collaboration environments where user productivity and communication are directly impacted by system performance and functionality. The correct approach involves a structured decision-making framework that prioritizes security and compliance, while still enabling timely resolution of critical issues. This means engaging the appropriate stakeholders, conducting a thorough risk assessment, and ensuring that any changes, even those deemed urgent, undergo a documented review process. This aligns with best practices for IT governance and security, which mandate that changes to production systems are controlled and validated to prevent unintended consequences, such as security vulnerabilities or service disruptions. Adherence to these processes, even under pressure, is crucial for maintaining system integrity and user trust. An incorrect approach would be to bypass the change management process entirely, even for seemingly minor updates. This creates significant regulatory and ethical risks. Specifically, it violates the principles of IT governance and change control, which are often implicitly or explicitly required by regulatory frameworks governing data security and system availability. Such a bypass can lead to the introduction of undocumented vulnerabilities, unauthorized system modifications, and a lack of auditability, making it impossible to trace the cause of future issues. Ethically, it demonstrates a disregard for established procedures designed to protect the organization and its users, potentially leading to data breaches or service outages that could have been prevented. Another incorrect approach would be to approve the change without adequate testing or risk assessment, simply because it addresses a user complaint. This fails to consider the broader impact on system stability and security, potentially introducing new problems while attempting to solve an existing one. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that includes 1. Issue identification and prioritization. Clearly define the problem and its impact. 2. Stakeholder consultation. Involve relevant teams, e.g., security operations development. 3. Risk assessment. Evaluate potential security, operational, and compliance risks of proposed solutions. 4. Solution evaluation. Compare different approaches based on risk, effectiveness, and adherence to policy. 5. Change management. Follow established procedures for implementing approved changes, including testing and rollback plans. 6. Documentation and review. Maintain records of decisions and outcomes for auditability. Question 15. System analysis indicates that a financial services organization is planning to deploy new Cisco collaboration servers to enhance internal communication and client interaction capabilities. The organization operates under strict financial regulations, requiring secure data handling, audit trails, and business continuity. What is the most appropriate initial step to ensure the successful and compliant integration of these new servers? Option A. Prioritize the deployment of features that offer the most immediate user benefit, deferring detailed security and compliance checks to a later phase. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the effects on existing systems, business processes, data security, and regulatory compliance requirements. Option C. Immediately begin the installation and configuration of the new Cisco collaboration servers to leverage their advanced features as soon as possible. Option D. Rely on the default security settings provided by Cisco for the new collaboration servers, assuming they meet all regulatory needs. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the effects on existing systems, business processes, data security, and regulatory compliance requirements. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent complexity of integrating new collaboration technologies within an existing infrastructure, particularly when considering the impact on business continuity and regulatory compliance. The need to balance innovation with the imperative to maintain uninterrupted service and adhere to data handling regulations requires careful planning and risk assessment. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that meticulously evaluates the potential effects of the new Cisco collaboration servers on all relevant business processes, existing systems, and crucially, compliance with applicable regulations. This includes identifying potential disruptions, data security vulnerabilities, and any changes required to meet data privacy and retention mandates. This approach is best professional practice because it proactively addresses risks, ensures informed decision-making, and demonstrates due diligence in safeguarding business operations and regulatory adherence. It aligns with the principles of responsible technology deployment, emphasizing a thorough understanding of consequences before implementation. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with the deployment without a thorough impact assessment. This failure to evaluate potential consequences constitutes a significant regulatory and ethical lapse. Specifically, it risks violating regulations that mandate the protection of sensitive data and the assurance of service availability. For instance, if the new servers handle customer data, a failure to assess their impact on data privacy controls could lead to noncompliance with data protection laws. Similarly, neglecting to assess the impact on existing communication channels could result in service disruptions, potentially contravening service-level agreements or industry-specific operational requirements. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured risk management framework. This begins with clearly defining the scope of the technology change. Subsequently, a detailed impact assessment should be conducted, identifying all potential positive and negative consequences across technical, operational, and regulatory domains. This assessment should involve relevant stakeholders from IT, business units, and compliance departments. Based on the findings, mitigation strategies should be developed for identified risks. Finally, a phased implementation plan, coupled with robust testing and monitoring, should be executed to ensure a smooth transition and ongoing compliance. Question 16. The audit findings indicate a significant oversight in the planning phase for the new Cisco collaboration platform, specifically regarding the potential consequences of its integration with existing enterprise systems and user workflows. Which of the following represents the most appropriate next step to address this finding and ensure a successful, compliant deployment? Option A. Proceed with the deployment as scheduled, focusing only on the technical aspects of server provisioning and network connectivity, and address any issues that arise post-implementation. Option B. Rely on the vendor's provided implementation guides and best practices to configure the Cisco collaboration platform, assuming they cover all potential integration challenges. Option C. Conduct a post-deployment review of user feedback and system logs to identify any problems that may have occurred during the initial rollout. Option D. Initiate a comprehensive impact assessment involving cross-functional teams to identify and evaluate potential technical, operational, security, and compliance risks associated with the new platform. The correct answer is D. Initiate a comprehensive impact assessment involving cross-functional teams to identify and evaluate potential technical, operational, security, and compliance risks associated with the new platform. Explanation. Scenario analysis. The audit findings highlight a critical gap in understanding the potential ramifications of a new collaboration platform deployment. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires proactive risk identification and mitigation before a significant event occurs, rather than reacting to a problem after it has materialized. The complexity arises from the interconnectedness of collaboration tools with existing infrastructure and business processes, necessitating a holistic view of potential impacts. Failure to conduct a thorough impact assessment can lead to unforeseen operational disruptions, security vulnerabilities, and noncompliance with regulatory requirements, all of which can have severe financial and reputational consequences. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that systematically identifies potential risks and their consequences across various domains, including technical, operational, security, and compliance. This aligns with best professional practices and regulatory expectations for responsible technology deployment. By engaging stakeholders from different departments, the assessment ensures that all potential impacts are considered, from user adoption and training needs to data privacy and business continuity. This proactive methodology allows for the development of appropriate mitigation strategies, thereby minimizing the likelihood and severity of negative outcomes. This approach directly supports the principles of due diligence and risk management expected in the deployment of IT systems, ensuring that the organization can leverage the new platform effectively and securely. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is to assume that the vendor's documentation alone is sufficient for understanding the impact. This fails to account for the unique integration points and specific configurations within the organization's existing environment. Regulatory frameworks often mandate that organizations conduct their own due diligence and risk assessments, not solely rely on third-party assurances. This approach risks overlooking critical vulnerabilities specific to the deployment context, potentially leading to security breaches or operational failures that could violate data protection regulations. Another incorrect approach is to focus solely on the technical aspects of the deployment, such as network bandwidth and server capacity, while neglecting the human and operational elements. Collaboration platforms are deeply intertwined with user workflows and business processes. Ignoring the impact on user productivity, training requirements, and change management can lead to low adoption rates, increased support costs, and a failure to realize the intended business benefits. From a regulatory perspective, this narrow focus can also overlook impacts on data handling practices and employee privacy, which are often subject to specific legal requirements. A third incorrect approach is to defer the impact assessment until after the platform has been fully deployed. This reactive stance is inherently risky. It means that any negative impacts, such as security vulnerabilities or operational disruptions, will have already occurred, potentially causing significant damage. Regulatory bodies typically expect organizations to demonstrate a proactive approach to risk management, including conducting assessments before implementing new technologies. Delaying this crucial step can be interpreted as negligence and may result in noncompliance penalties. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured and comprehensive approach to impact assessment. This involves defining the scope of the assessment, identifying all relevant stakeholders, and employing a systematic methodology to evaluate potential impacts across technical, operational, security, and compliance domains. The process should be iterative, allowing for adjustments based on findings. Engaging with legal and compliance teams early in the process is crucial to ensure alignment with all applicable regulations. Documenting the assessment process, findings, and mitigation plans is essential for demonstrating due diligence and providing an auditable trail. Question 17. The efficiency study reveals a significant increase in call drop rates and latency for users accessing Cisco Unified Communications Manager (CUCM) services across a distributed enterprise network. Which of the following impact assessment approaches best addresses this issue while adhering to professional best practices for IT service management? Option A. Implement a broad rollback of recent CUCM software updates across all servers, attributing the performance degradation to a recent patch without verifying its direct correlation to the observed issues. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment by correlating user reports with network performance metrics, CUCM diagnostic logs, and quality of service (QoS) configurations across affected sites to identify the most critical points of failure. Option C. Immediately upgrade CUCM server hardware based on the assumption of resource exhaustion, without further investigation into network or configuration issues. Option D. Focus solely on increasing available network bandwidth to the affected sites, assuming that network congestion is the sole cause of the increased call drops and latency. The correct answer is C. Immediately upgrade Cucum server hardware based on the assumption of resource exhaustion, without further investigation into network or configuration issues. Explanation. The efficiency study reveals a significant increase in call drop rates and latency for users accessing Cisco Unified Communications Manager, Cucum, services across a distributed enterprise network. This scenario is professionally challenging because it directly impacts user productivity and the perceived reliability of critical business communication tools. The challenge lies in identifying the root cause of these performance degradations, which could stem from various components within the collaboration infrastructure, including network infrastructure, Cucum server resources, or even endpoint devices. A thorough impact assessment is crucial to prioritize remediation efforts and ensure compliance with service-level agreements, SLAs, and internal IT policies. The correct approach involves a systematic and data-driven impact assessment that prioritizes user experience and service availability. This means correlating the observed performance issues with specific user groups, locations, and times to pinpoint the most affected areas. It also entails analyzing network telemetry, Cucum performance metrics, and potentially conducting targeted troubleshooting to identify bottlenecks or misconfigurations. This approach aligns with best professional practices by focusing on a holistic understanding of the problem's scope and severity, enabling informed decision-making for effective resolution. From a regulatory and ethical standpoint, maintaining reliable communication services is paramount, especially in environments where these systems are critical for business operations and potentially for emergency communications. Proactive and thorough impact assessment demonstrates due diligence in ensuring service continuity and user satisfaction. An incorrect approach would be to immediately assume a single cause, such as a Cucum server overload, without comprehensive data. This could lead to misdirected troubleshooting efforts, wasted resources, and prolonged downtime. Ethically, this demonstrates a lack of diligence and could violate implicit or explicit SLAs with users or departments. Another incorrect approach is to focus solely on network bandwidth without considering other contributing factors like quality of service, CoS misconfigurations, firewall inspection policies, or DNS resolution issues, which are all integral to collaboration traffic flow. This narrow focus ignores the complex interplay of components in a Cisco collaboration environment and could lead to an incomplete or ineffective solution, potentially causing further disruption. Furthermore, ignoring user reports or anecdotal evidence while solely relying on automated metrics can lead to overlooking critical user experience issues that automated systems might not fully capture, representing a failure in user-centric service management. Professionals should adopt a structured decision-making process that begins with clearly defining the problem and its perceived impact. This is followed by gathering comprehensive data from all relevant sources, including network monitoring tools, Cucum logs, and user feedback. The next step is to analyze this data to identify patterns and potential root causes, prioritizing those that have the most significant impact on users and business operations. Based on this analysis, a remediation plan is developed, tested, and implemented, with continuous monitoring to ensure the effectiveness of the solution. This iterative process ensures that solutions are targeted, efficient, and ultimately restore optimal service performance. Question 18. The control framework reveals a planned upgrade to the Cisco collaboration server infrastructure. To ensure continued adherence to security policies and data integrity, what is the most appropriate initial step to manage the potential impact of this upgrade? Option A. Rely on the Cisco vendor's assurance that the upgrade is backward compatible and will not introduce new security vulnerabilities. Option B. Inform end users about the upcoming upgrade and instruct them to report any unusual behavior post-implementation. Option C. Immediately proceed with the upgrade using the vendor's recommended default settings to minimize downtime and leverage new features. Option D. Conduct a thorough impact assessment that identifies potential risks to security, data integrity, and service availability, and develop corresponding mitigation strategies. The correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough impact assessment that identifies potential risks to security, data integrity, and service availability, and develop corresponding mitigation strategies. Explanation. The control framework reveals a critical juncture in managing the impact of a proposed Cisco collaboration server upgrade on existing security protocols and data integrity. The professional challenge lies in balancing the operational benefits of the upgrade with the imperative to maintain compliance with the Cisco 500-325 exams implied regulatory environment, which prioritizes data protection and service availability. A hasty or incomplete impact assessment could lead to unforeseen vulnerabilities, service disruptions, and potential noncompliance with data handling and security standards relevant to collaboration platforms. The correct approach involves a comprehensive, phased impact assessment that meticulously documents potential risks and outlines mitigation strategies before the upgrade is implemented. This aligns with best professional practice by ensuring that all stakeholders are informed, potential security gaps are identified and addressed proactively, and that the upgrade process is managed in a controlled manner. This systematic approach minimizes the likelihood of data breaches, service outages, and regulatory noncompliance, thereby safeguarding the organization's operational continuity and reputation. An incorrect approach that bypasses thorough risk analysis and mitigation planning would represent a significant regulatory and ethical failure. Specifically, proceeding with an upgrade without understanding its implications for data privacy and security controls would violate the implicit duty of care to protect sensitive information handled by the collaboration platform. This could lead to breaches of data protection regulations, unauthorized access to information, and a loss of trust from users and regulatory bodies. Another incorrect approach, such as relying solely on vendor default configurations without independent verification of their compliance with organizational security policies, also poses a risk. This overlooks the organization's responsibility to ensure that deployed systems meet its specific security posture and regulatory obligations, rather than simply assuming vendor compliance. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that prioritizes a structured and documented impact assessment process. This involves clearly defining the scope of the assessment, identifying all relevant systems and data flows, engaging with security and compliance teams, and developing a detailed risk register with corresponding mitigation plans. The process should culminate in a formal sign-off from relevant authorities before proceeding with any significant system changes, ensuring that all potential impacts have been considered and addressed. Question 19. Cost-benefit analysis shows that a less feature-rich, lower-cost Cisco collaboration appliance could meet the immediate functional requirements for basic communication, but a more comprehensive solution would offer enhanced security features and better integration with existing compliance monitoring tools. Which approach best aligns with the regulatory framework for Cisco collaboration servers and appliances in the specified jurisdiction? Option A. Prioritize the appliance that is easiest to deploy and manage, regardless of its specific security features or integration capabilities with compliance tools. Option B. Select the less feature-rich appliance to maximize immediate cost savings, assuming future upgrades can address any compliance gaps. Option C. Implement the less feature-rich appliance and rely on third-party software to bridge any security and compliance deficiencies. Option D. Choose the more comprehensive appliance, ensuring it meets all current and anticipated regulatory requirements for data handling, security, and auditability, even if it incurs higher upfront costs. The correct answer is B. Select the less feature-rich appliance to maximize immediate cost savings, assuming future upgrades can address any compliance gaps. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in IT infrastructure upgrades, balancing the immediate cost savings of a less comprehensive solution against the long-term risks and potential compliance gaps. The pressure to reduce upfront expenditure can lead to overlooking critical aspects of an impact assessment, particularly concerning regulatory adherence and business continuity. The challenge lies in discerning between a technically feasible solution and one that meets all operational, security, and regulatory requirements, especially when dealing with sensitive collaboration data. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes a thorough impact assessment that explicitly considers the regulatory framework relevant to Cisco collaboration servers and appliances within the specified jurisdiction. This involves evaluating how the proposed upgrade affects data privacy, security protocols, and service availability in alignment with applicable laws and industry guidelines. By ensuring the chosen solution not only meets functional requirements, but also maintains compliance and mitigates potential risks, it represents best professional practice. This proactive stance prevents future costly remediation, legal penalties, and reputational damage, aligning with the ethical obligation to protect organizational assets and user data. Incorrect approaches analysis. Focusing solely on immediate cost reduction without a comprehensive regulatory impact assessment is a significant ethical and professional failure. This approach risks non-compliance with the 500-325 Cisco collaboration servers and appliances exam's regulatory framework, potentially leading to fines, legal action, and loss of trust. It demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a disregard for the long-term implications of technological decisions, prioritizing only the perceived ease of implementation over a detailed analysis of potential disruptions to existing collaboration workflows and data integrity is also professionally unsound. While ease of implementation is a factor, it should not supersede the assessment of how the upgrade impacts critical business functions and regulatory obligations. This oversight can lead to operational inefficiencies and security vulnerabilities. Ignoring potential integration challenges with existing security infrastructure and compliance tools, even if they add to the initial assessment effort, is another critical failure. A robust impact assessment must account for the entire ecosystem. Neglecting this aspect can result in security gaps and compliance breaches that are far more expensive to rectify later. Professional reasoning. Professionals tasked with infrastructure upgrades must adopt a holistic decision-making process. This begins with clearly defining the project's objectives, including functional, security, and regulatory compliance goals. A comprehensive impact assessment is paramount, involving stakeholders from IT, legal, compliance, and relevant business units. This assessment should systematically identify potential risks and benefits across all dimensions, with a strong emphasis on adherence to the specific regulatory framework governing the technology in question. When evaluating options, the total cost of ownership, including potential remediation, compliance, and operational costs, should be considered, not just the upfront purchase price. This ensures that decisions are not only technically sound, but also ethically responsible and strategically aligned with long-term organizational health and legal standing. Question 20. The evaluation methodology shows that a new Cisco Unified Communications Manager, CUCM, deployment is being considered to enhance internal communication and external conferencing capabilities. The primary goal is to assess the potential impact of this deployment on data privacy and regulatory compliance before full implementation. Which of the following approaches best aligns with a proactive and compliant impact assessment process? Option A. Focus the impact assessment solely on the security features of CUCM, such as encryption and access controls, without a broader consideration of data handling practices and user privacy implications. Option B. Initiate a comprehensive data flow analysis, identifying all sensitive data types processed by CUCM, assessing potential privacy risks and security vulnerabilities, and consulting with legal and compliance teams to ensure alignment with relevant data protection regulations. Option C. Defer the detailed impact assessment until after the CUCM system has been fully deployed and is operational, addressing any identified issues on a reactive basis. Option D. Conduct a thorough review of the CUCM technical specifications and performance benchmarks, focusing on call quality and feature set, and assume vendor compliance documentation is sufficient for privacy considerations. The correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough review of the CUCM technical specifications and performance benchmarks, focusing on call quality and feature set, and assume vendor compliance documentation is sufficient for privacy considerations. Explanation. The evaluation methodology shows a critical juncture in the deployment of a new Cisco collaboration solution. The professional challenge lies in balancing the immediate operational needs with the long-term implications for data privacy and regulatory compliance, particularly concerning the handling of sensitive communication data. A robust impact assessment is paramount to identify potential risks before they materialize into breaches or non-compliance issues. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a comprehensive and proactive risk identification process. This involves systematically analyzing the proposed collaboration solution's features, data flows, and potential vulnerabilities against the backdrop of relevant regulations. By engaging stakeholders from legal, compliance, and IT security departments, it ensures that all potential impacts, including those related to data privacy, security, and service availability, are thoroughly understood and addressed. This aligns with the principles of data protection by design and by default, a cornerstone of many regulatory frameworks that mandate consideration of privacy and security from the outset of any new technology implementation. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on technical performance metrics without considering data handling and privacy implications fails to meet regulatory requirements. Such an approach would likely overlook risks associated with unauthorized access, data retention policies, or cross-border data transfers, leading to potential violations of data protection laws. Another incorrect approach that relies on a superficial review of vendor documentation without independent validation is also professionally unacceptable. Vendor documentation may not fully disclose all potential risks or may be biased. A thorough impact assessment requires an independent and critical evaluation of the technology's actual and potential impacts, not just what the vendor claims. Finally, an approach that delays the impact assessment until after the solution is fully deployed is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This reactive stance increases the likelihood of discovering critical compliance gaps or security vulnerabilities that are far more costly and difficult to remediate once the system is in production. It demonstrates a disregard for due diligence and a failure to uphold the professional responsibility to protect sensitive information and ensure regulatory adherence. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured, phased approach to impact assessment. This begins with defining the scope and objectives, followed by thorough data flow analysis, risk identification, and the development of mitigation strategies. Continuous engagement with legal and compliance teams, as well as regular reviews and updates to the assessment, are crucial to maintaining compliance throughout the lifecycle of the collaboration solution.